Good morning, friends. Welcome to Coffee Talk this morning. We're actually standing in a former hallway.
Yes.
So if long ago you were curious, no, if you're curious now about what it was like long ago, right here, coming through the fellowship room, was a hallway.
Yes.
That was an emergency exit right here.
Oh, it was.
And so it throws me off when we start recording because we're not quite centered, but there's reasons for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, welcome to the hallway, the really large hallway that echoes and has two pillars in it. But we're so thankful that you are just joining us this morning just to hang out and just to enjoy some coffee, enjoy some chit chat, and hopefully you have questions as you have come through this week, as we've come through this series of, I was going to say God question. Years ago, okay, throwing me off. Years ago, we had a series called Got Questions.
Okay.
And it was
Which
some of the basics of faith.
May or may not have been a plagiarized title.
And, yeah, well, at the time, I don't know if it was.
It was.
But we are working our way through the series called God's Church, Our Family. Speaking of questions, if you had a burning question that you had to ask God, if I could snap my fingers and all three of us were standing before the throne of God, you get to go ask your question. What is that burning question?
I have so many.
Like
So
dumb,
many.
silly, serious, or anything in between.
Serious to me, stupid to everybody else. They're just so. But I want to know why the appendix. Like, what is the purpose?
Yeah. Since people
Right.
get it removed all the time. Yeah.
Right. It
Yeah.
just seems like it's just this. Hey, it's like God sort of said, "Hey, let's put a ticking time bomb in every person. Just one day they're going to eat something funny, and I'm sure there's a reason.
Yeah.
What is the reason?
Okay.
Why the
Yeah.
appendix?
Interesting.
I mean, there's the classics, right? Like, did Adam have a belly button? But there's always those. Why the mosquito?
Yes.
Right.
Oh,
like,
that's a big
why?
one. Yeah.
Why the mosquito? I would like to. I'd like God to give some, accounting for that.
You sound like Job. It's just, I need an audience with God.
Answer me, please.
Look here, pal. No.
I'll take Job from a different angle.
Okay.
I do have a question for him that I ask him all the time. Why? And people have it for suffering in many different ways. For me, it's personal with my wife. Why is she senselessly suffering? It seems. Why? I know that he doesn't waste suffering, but my emotional side always goes, why?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I would ask first a dumb question like how big is the universe?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
is there an end?
Yeah.
And if there isn't, that's unbelievable. If there is, why?
What's
the point of being out
What
there if I
happens
can't
if we
even get to
reach
it?
the end?
What happens if we
do you
reach
just
the
bump into like a glass wall? Like, what happens if you reach the end?
Yeah.
Follow.
You fall.
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, it's an interesting question.
Yeah. When I was going through Job or through even some life experiences, if God created humanity and had this wonderful relationship with them, and then we have the fall, and then we go through this big, long ordeal, and then end up back in right relationship with Him, how come we had to go through all of that? We ended up where we started, right? Like, that's Jerry Seinfeld's thing about, like a horse starts out on this race and goes all the way around and then gets to the beginning. You're like, we were just here. Why didn't we start here? We would have been first. Okay.
Oh, I want to go for right about dinosaurs.
Oh,
Okay.
Right? Because
like how they putting the skeletons together?
Yeah. But more than that, like, do we have the skin right? Because that's all decomposed. We're guessing, right?
yeah.
What did they sound? What did they sound like? Are we right? Because what if the T-Rex sounded more like Mike Tyson? Like, what if we're wrong about that? And it could be hilariously so. We assume it's like this.
Yeah, interesting.
What was it? What was it really like?
Maybe their skin was sheet metal. Yeah, interesting.
Or furry. Or
Well,
some of them had maybe feathers, but are we right?
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to know.
Good question. That's good.
That's my question.
And I've had some teens actually come to me with that question as well too. Like, what about dinosaurs? Like, I had a very difficult section in the 2018s of going through some suffering and doing the same thing and saying, why, God? That the why of this is so unbelievably important to me in order to actually be able to continue this relationship with you. Because I knew that all things come from his hand, and if all things come from his hand, including suffering, how do we deal with that? But I will also say that that was the scariest moment in my life, in my Christian life, up to that point, because I was not raised in a home and a church where it wasn't encouraged. It just never really happened. And so to question God felt like a sin, or felt wrong, or felt like I was like poking a bear and trying to figure out, is this actually okay? I don't know, have you guys been through some of that as well too, where you feel that almost like a guilt?
I was very surprised to learn in Bible college that the 11th commandment isn't thou shalt not ask questions. Because I think like you, it was almost an underlying commandment to everything.
Right.
That this is the way it is. Just sit down and accept it,
yeah,
but do not ask questions. And then you'll be fine with God. Instead of it's like, maybe that's partly why, the only questions the questions that are easiest to come up with are like more comedic, because to ask serious questions it's not just that it's not safe, it's actually not allowed. You might be risking your whole salvation.
Because in this questioning, like, okay, what are you questioning? Are you questioning the goodness of God? Or are you questioning the issue? Right? And sometimes that becomes a major part of the distinction. Right? Like to say, does God really love me? Like same thing with Adam and Eve and Satan. Like, did God actually say? That's a whole lot different than like, God, why is there this issue? God, how come I have to deal with this? God, why would you allow whatever? Why how do I move forward in this situation? Right? Those are actually all very necessary and important questions, and yet they come with a side of right-sizing God. As, like you said, Job had to come to a point of saying, you are God, I am not, and I'm actually okay with that because of your goodness and because of who I am in relationship to you. And I'm going to allow that to be the basis on which I ask my questions, because like Jeff, you finished in the end of the sermon with a great big God can handle those questions, right? And that's what I feel like is an important part of sort of where our final connection to some of these things go. Jeff, you led us through, was it John 9? Can you tell us about that? Why you were led to that?
Well, first of all, it's a favorite passage of mine. I just love I love the whole thing. I love how the disciples ask at the beginning, who sinned, this man or his father? Like that was the only categories they had.
Right.
Like it had to be a sin. Somebody sinned.
Based on Old Testament law?
Based on their understanding of illness and sickness and anything bad. It happened because of sin. And Jesus expands the categories. It wasn't this man or his parents.
Right.
It was so that God's glory may be revealed, And who knows if that was the full picture. Like Jesus often opens up something for us to understand, and maybe not to its fullest extent, because obviously that illness came into the world because of sin. But it wasn't because of his parents specifically or him specifically.
Because in that historical context, if there was an issue like a drought or a famine, or like you couldn't have kids, like it was the fault of the God who chose that, and then you had to kind of just placate that God, and like there's a whole other
there's all
cultural
that going on too. So there's so much bigger.
No, I just wanted to make sure that point doesn't get lost and is super explicit. That what you're saying is it's not an individual sin, but it's sin categorically and generally speaking. Because you do encounter people in the church who still hold on to that. That, you have something wrong with you. what's the sin? Let's find it.
Right.
Once
Yeah,
you
you
atone
need
for
to-
that,
you need to
then it'll be all dealt with. And
Yeah.
that's not what Jesus is saying was happening. It's almost like he's saying, it's not about you.
yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
And think bigger, like think
Yeah.
God thoughts, you know.
Yeah.
And then he heals the man on the Sabbath, knowing that it's the Sabbath. And then the guys brought in, and the Pharisees, they don't even see the miracle, you know. Like how can you not see that this is miraculous and amazing? And just their interaction with the guy's like, this is remarkable.
Yeah.
You know, well, before that, he's like, all as I know is I was blind and now I can see, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I'm just telling you what happened.
Mhm.
And then they're like, well, you know, but the Pharisees, they're not curious at all. They're judgmental. Like, this happened on the Sabbath. And they're not even understanding the Sabbath. Because if you go, I didn't mention this on Sunday, but if you go to Isaiah 58, their Old Testament that they live by talks about this is what true fasting is.
Right.
Release from captivity, you know, all this stuff. And so Jesus is doing it, and they can't even see it. You know, I just love that passage. So, sincere curiosity is, it's not just curiosity, but sincere curiosity. And I think what I mean by that is, you even mentioned a little bit ago, there's a distinction between questioning God's goodness and questioning a circumstance. I would say, even in the Psalms, people question God's goodness.
Yeah.
Right? But sincere curiosity isn't using it as an excuse to do what I want.
Okay, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if we just said curiosity, it's like, well, I'm curious. What if I do this? You know.
Right.
But sincere curiosity is it's trying to put that into, am I sincerely curious about God
Right.
and what He wants, not just to get what I want?
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So sincere curiosity, it just has all kinds of other qualities underlying: humility, desire to do God's will, desire to understand more of God, recognizing that we may not, right?
Mhm.
Like, it's okay to continue to be curious and not have your questions answered like that. We keep pursuing those questions. The Proverbs talk about seek me and you will find me, but it doesn't say stop seeking me. Like,
Right.
keep on seeking, right?
Yeah.
It sounds like you're...
Well, I think there's a few other, there's a couple other things we could add to this. And one is, I think what it does is it creates a bit of a guardrail, so to speak, around us putting God in a box.
Yeah.
If
Yes.
we remain sincerely curious,
Mhm.
and because I think that's kind of what was happening in John 9,
Mhm.
right? The religious leaders kind of had this sort of thing like, oh no, God's not going to do that,
Yeah.
especially not on the
Yeah.
Sabbath. Are
Right.
you kidding me? That's a day. Even
Yeah.
God rests on the Sabbath.
Right.
And so their curiosity was limited,
Mhm.
therefore their view of God was limited.
Mhm.
So as we remain sincerely curious about God, then we make sure, like, because the big old question I often have is, what if God is doing something new?
Mhm.
Why,
Mhm.
Yeah.
like, what if he's gonna, like, because he's still God of the universe. So
Mhm.
what if there's something new that he's doing, and I don't want to miss it.
Mhm.
Frankly, I don't.
Yeah.
I want to be in on it.
Mhm.
And so there's that. But I also think the other thing that sincere curiosity does for us as a church is we don't explicitly have a cultural value of hospitality, but we kind of do.
Mhm.
And in
Yeah.
sincere curiosity, that keeps that and hospitality play together
Mhm.
so well.
Yeah.
Right? It creates room for Jesus in terms of our relationship with him and
Mhm.
asking questions, but it also sets the table
Yeah.
for hospitality with
Yeah.
my neighbor.
You're right. You're right.
And for inviting them in and not going, oh, I don't know, that person's
Mhm.
kind of different. Let's not
Mhm.
have them over for. But it just opens the door and sets the
Mhm.
table, and then allows us to sort of, get to know one another
Mhm.
in a really helpful,
Yeah.
beautiful way.
Yeah.
Okay, so what if
So glad you said that.
What if
Yeah.
I'm not sincerely curious? And what if I'm a legalist
Okay.
and I go onto
Mhm.
our website, lhbchurch.com/who we are,
Yeah.
and I find these 6 things,
Mhm.
love anchored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So love, the Spirit, discipleship,
Yeah.
generosity, sharing life together, which is about one another. All of those, if I'm a legalist, I could say, well, I can point to in the New Testament especially, where we are commanded to do this. We are commanded to love one another. We're commanded to be generous. We are commanded to do this. We are not commanded to be curious.
Mhm.
Mhm.
With the word. Yeah.
With the word, right?
Right.
If I'm only just thinking very surface level and legalistic, so how do we respond to that? Because this isn't just a to-do list, but this is actually what we want the culture to be. How do we respond to that?
Okay.
It's not in the Bible, so.
So do you want to respond before I make it even more legalistic?
Go ahead. I want to hear what
Jesus says,
thinking.
love your neighbor as yourself.
Yeah.
I cannot love my neighbor if I am not curious about their life.
Yeah.
Right there, full stop for me.
Yeah.
Because because when I'm not curious, I make walls of assumption. Prejudice always 100% of the time takes over.
Yeah.
And I think I know that person. And I limit myself from ever truly knowing them.
Right.
And yet Jesus said, love your neighbor.
Yeah.
And so I just don't see any way how I can love someone without opening the door a little bit to the possibility that I don't actually know them. And then we go from there. And then we when we get into our sharing life together value this week, curiosity is all through that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like when we come around the
That's right.
table with one another and we, in a life group or whatever setting, whether it's, coffee with someone on a Thursday morning or, in someone's home on Monday night, wherever it is, curiosity opens the door to life together. And so that's all really where I think we do find it. And in every verse that talks about hospitality, curiosity is there.
Yeah.
I would respond with the same thing, but like Jesus often asks questions. He connects with people through questions. He has whole conversations through just a simple question like, do you wish to be healed? No, that's not the question. What do you want me to do for you?
Yeah.
Right? Like, or he would ask just a simple question like, who do you say I am? Or ask questions of the Pharisees, So like just through some of these amazing questions that Jesus brings about, he teaches and he shows, and yet I feel like it underlies a whole lot of what we are to be and how we are to connect with people on different levels. And I think without that sense of curiosity, like Jesus calls us to be, especially for the New Testament church, to be led by his Spirit into Jerusalem and Judea and to the ends of the earth. And so in order to sometimes be able to follow Christ in those terms of where are you leading, I for sure think that these questions, a sense of curiosity and where God are you leading is so important. So.
Yeah, so many of great teaching moments in the Gospels start with a question. Sometimes it's the disciples asking a question.
Yeah.
And then Jesus answers it in such an incredible way. Sometimes he starts with the question and then they respond. And then there's this whole big teaching moment. And it's all of that, which is beautiful.
And even in those conversations with people, as you get into talking about stuff, you begin to shut down conversations when you kind of just say, well, I know everything there is to know about anything.
Right.
And as we are often reminded, as we get to know more, as we study more, as we gain more knowledge, wow, there's so much I don't know about anything. And that's where it becomes, how big is the universe? As soon as we begin to open our eyes to how big the universe is, we realize how small we are, right? And I think that's just such an amazing picture of where God wants to continue to lead us in all of that. And so hopefully you are continuing to ask questions and grow in your understanding of where Jesus is leading you, where Jesus is leading our church, and how this is to be a cultural value. Like, we're supposed to be showing that with, or be almost like a reflection of that value without necessarily saying, here's rule number 17 of every time you're in this situation. It actually just comes with a little bit more of an instinctual growth
that's what
with
we like.
Jesus.
It's a value, a culture. We were developing a culture.
So one of the amazing things that we love in the culture around here is soup. Jeff, can you tell us about that?
About which soup I love, or why I love it?
Do you have a favorite soup?
Do you know, I don't know.
See me being curious and being curious.
I have a favorite type, I think. I like the Thai spicy, I really like that. But I just might like just a little bit more than others. And I'm curious about, what it tastes like. So I just love tasting a lot. But anyways, that's on Sunday. And you probably want to add a little bit to...
I do, so much, because I think the question I ask most often in my life is, what does that taste like? What does that taste like? What would that taste like?
So
I am curious.
Toddlers say the same thing.
I'm curious about what else is happening on Sunday that you want to tell us about.
I'm looking forward, right, there's soup. Well, okay, so, gotta get serious with that. Our Romania team is pretty much established, I want to say. We have 8 of us. We're so keen to get rolling because, we'd leave in 5 months.
Wow.
And so we, one of the things, there's so many things to do. If you haven't been part of a team like this, I'm sure you're curious about it. It's not just like the coming together, but it's like to be a really effective team to gel together. We've got to do some things together before we get there. Because, if the first time we ever see each other is on the flight, that, it will be a more effective team if we work together on some things. One of those things we work together on, besides cultural training, prepping what the VBSs will be like and all that, is fundraising. And we do that for 2 reasons. One, because it's not cheap to go, but so we invite you into supporting us financially in that. And then as we work together on fundraisers, we gel. It's great. It's beautiful. So one of the things we're going to start is this week, as a fundraiser, there will be some sweets to go with the soup. If you'd like to grab something sweet to either go with it or afterwards, our team will be, as a fundraiser, selling some baked goods in probably in the foyer. We haven't established where yet, but I think that's the best space because this room is really full. We don't, they're not going to fit here. So we'll talk more about that on Sunday morning for those who didn't get a chance to see this. But we'd love for you to, whether you just come say hi, get to kind of put some faces to names and all of that. But we'd love to sell you some dessert. And whether you enjoy that with your soup or later in the day, that's up to you. But we'll begin our fundraiser by doing that. I don't even want to commit to what it'll be. Maybe it'll be cookies. Maybe it'll be a cake. I don't know what the team is going to make.
I'm curious.
You'll have to come on Sunday and find out. And there will be lots of opportunities. We'll do a few different, whether it's a baked auction or something again. There will be other things we're working on as well. But yes,
great.
There will be ways to give because... We also recognize this is a great opportunity for a Romania team. And we recognize that we go representing Lakeview. And many of you would, some of you have said to me already, we wish we could go, we can't go, but we're going in spirit. How can we help and how can we support? And so there will be lots of opportunities for them.
And you're going to be sharing over the next 5 months a lot more.
Absolutely.
So that's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And not just like how to give and what we're doing, but also who is and all of that and why we're going and all of those things will begin, a little bit at a time as we keep it in front of everybody.
Those are wonderful questions. Thank you for those questions. And we were going to continue to asking and answering. And as we kind of close this series down this coming Sunday, we invite you to just continue on with us, moving towards Easter, moving towards what God is going to do in your life. And so blessings on you. Have a wonderful week.